Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're actually diving into a travel blog post. But surprisingly, it's titled, Stop Being a Snob About Retirement. And this isn't about, packing tips or anything like that. It's focused less on where people go and so much more on the judgment and the heavy expectations around how people choose to spend their post-work lives.
Which is such a needed conversation.
It really is. So our goal here is to really extract the core argument the author's making, this argument about the virtue of personal choice, and to shine a light on the subtle ways we as a culture rank people based on their retirement choices, especially whether they travel or choose to stay home.
And you have to get this context right from the start, because the source argues that for many people, retirement has picked up this very specific kind of prescribed personality. The message we all sort of internalize is something like, curious means mobile, engaged means booked, alive means somewhere else.
Right.
And we really need to challenge that idea, that movement, physical movement is automatically the superior way to live a good life.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We've got this huge life transition retirement. And apparently there's an unofficial standardized test for it. So, if retirement is supposed to be the prize, where is this pressure to perform even coming from? Is it societal? Is it the travel industry?
I think it's both. But the source really points a finger at the societal expectation, this idea that the new luxury of time must be converted into physical mileage. The pressure is just intense. If you aren't constantly moving or having these deeply authentic, slow travel experiences, you're seen as somehow falling short. It creates this underlying fear of failing at retirement.
Wow. The idea of failing at retirement that's unsettling. And the author breaks this judgment down into two distinct layers of snobbery, which I think is just a fascinating analysis.
There really is.
The first layer is the obvious one, right? It's aimed at people who choose to stay home.
Exactly. If you choose stillness, if your greatest joy is your garden or a local book club or even just, learning a language from your own kitchen, you're easily labeled fearful, according to the source, like you haven't seized the day.
You're not living up to your potential.
Right.
But that second layer is where the author really starts swinging. It's the judgment that exists within travel itself. It's that deep irony of one traveler just looking down on another traveler.
Oh, absolutely. The person who loves cruises is judged by the backpacker,
Who's then judged by the luxury hotel connoisseur. It's a ladder of judgment.
And this is perfectly highlighted in the critique of slow travel. The author is very clear here. They acknowledge its value, the presence, the respect, the immersion. All of that is good.
But there's a big but. They warn that this preference can just morph into something else entirely. And the author's observation here is so sharp. Slow travel, at its worst, can become, and I'm quoting, moral superiority with better and, of course, less luggage.
And that phrase just captures the whole problem, doesn't it? It's not about how you travel. It's about the mindset of ranking. That moral high ground that says, my experience is more authentic, so my retirement is more valid. But what the author is suggesting, really, is that the only person who gets to define authenticity in retirement is, it's you.
So if that's the case, if travel isn't the only indicator of a valid life, we have to move beyond movement as the only sign of growth. And this brings us right to the core philosophical claim the author makes to push back on all this.
The pivot point is this really clear statement in the source. Curiosity is not a hierarchy. We're conditioned to believe that curiosity has to be external. A new country, a new food, a new museum. But the author reminds us that curiosity can be directed entirely inward or, just locally.
Right, toward ideas, relationships, deep dives into your own memories, or just understanding your own neighborhood better. And I love how the author sets up these direct contrasts. We should probably look at those side-by-side statements because they're the clearest illustration of the problem.
Absolutely. The author just systematically dismantles these common judgments.
So, for example, the common judgment is often, oh, tourists don't get it, they only scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But the author's reality check is simply that. People experience places differently. You can't prescribe one perfect way to absorb a culture.
And then there's a tougher one, right? If you're not traveling, you've given up. On life, on ambition. The author counters that by saying, contentment isn't resignation. And that's a really difficult distinction for people to make. How does the author suggest we can tell the difference between real intentional contentment and just giving up?
Well, it's all about the intentionality of the stillness. The judgment says staying home is playing it safe, but the author flips that. They state that stillness can be intentional. I mean, think about it. If you've spent 40 years chasing external goals, choosing to focus inward might be the most radical, the bravest choice you can make.
So it's not playing it safe.
Not at all. It's prioritizing a completely different kind of growth.
And that's the key. The blanket cultural statement is movement equals growth. But the author is saying, no, growth can be quiet. It doesn't need a passport stamp or a social media post to be real.
And this deep validation of choice is just so crucial. The author defines retirement as the phase where choice finally gets to lead, which means supporting the people who want fewer places and more depth.
And the people who want no places at all.
Exactly. And especially those who just crave the routine, the predictability.
And my favorite detail in the whole piece is that description of people who want the comfort of knowing exactly where the kettle is.
It's amazing how much meaning is in that one little domestic detail, isn't it?
It carries so much weight.
It's the complete opposite of that anxiety of arriving in a new airport at 2 a.m. It represents peace and joy in the manageable.
And that's what we have to remember. This critique isn't saying travel is bad. It's just saying that finding value in the mundane, embracing stillness, it's just as valid. The problem only comes up when we confuse that intentional choice with fear or, a lack of ambition.
Now, this critique carries a lot of weight because the person writing this is not some armchair philosopher who's never left their backyard. This author is clearly a very enthusiastic and frequent traveler. We have to review their own experience to see why this critique of travel snobbery is so powerful.
Oh, that context is vital. This is not fear-based advice. This is preference-based advice. And it's coming from a position of deep established experience. I mean, you look at the lists of journeys the author has taken and you immediately realize they have immense credibility.
They didn't just tick boxes, they embraced the whole spectrum.
Exactly. We see this massive world trip documented. It covered multiple continents, demanding destinations. They tackled the American West, the Grand Canyon, Antelope Canyon in Arizona, then boom, they're in Southeast Asia.
Right, Bangkok, Jaipur, the Taj Mahal in India.
And from there, they transition into dense cultural immersion in Europe, Switzerland, historical cities in Portugal like Coimbra and Porto.
The range is incredible, going from desert exploration to a historic European university town. It proves they understand all the different ways to travel.
And the travel since the pandemic is just staggering. It shows they're still going at a high pace. We're talking demanding international destinations. South Africa, Iceland, the Galapagos, the Falkland Islands.
And Machu Picchu, which is a serious physical feat.
For sure. But then you also see the leisure travel. Cruises in the Caribbean, New England, city trips to Paris, deep dives into Canada.
So they've done it all. Fast, slow, cultural, physical, domestic, international.
So the powerful implication here is this. This critique isn't coming from someone who's afraid of the passport queue. It's coming from someone who loves travel, has done it to the nth degree, and yet sees the danger when personal preference turns into a philosophy that judges other people.
Yes. They have the authority to say, I did all that, and I still understand why others might choose less. Or just something different.
They get it.
They know the thrill of discovery, but they've gained the wisdom to see that the same depth of curiosity can be found by staying still. They've seen both sides and are arguing for parity. Which brings us really to the synthesis of the final takeaway. If movement isn't the metric, what is?
The author provides a really powerful mandate. They state it clearly. Retirement is not improved by smugness. It's improved by alignment.
Alignment, that's the key word. So if alignment is the goal, what are we aligning? Is it resources, time, emotional needs? And how do you even measure that without using that external smug scorecard?
Well, it's a combination of all three, but I think fundamentally it's aligning your post-work life with your own true desires, with your own authentic sense of fulfillment. It shifts the focus from the external how many countries to the internal state of being, and you measure it by the reduction of internal friction. Are you living the life you want or the life you feel you should want?
And that final generous action the author asks for ties directly back to that. They asked all of us, travelers and stay-at-homes alike, to simply stop ranking how other people live.
Exactly. If you love travel, go. Fast, slow, whatever. If home is where your curiosity is now, stay. The goal is just to allow that vital curiosity to change shape without attaching a value judgment to that change.
And that is the core insight for you, the listener. We've identified that the pressure in retirement is external, this toxic assumption that movement equals growth. But the true value of this phase of life is internal. It's found in stillness, in contentment, and in the right to choose your own pace.
And this idea, enough is still enough, is actually incredibly challenging, isn't it? It demands you replace all that external validation with a kind of radical self-acceptance. And that, the source argues, is often the hardest journey of all.
It definitely requires more self-awareness than just booking the next flight.
Indeed. And if we build on that source material, the idea that curiosity doesn't disappear, it just changes shape, it leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. We've seen the author's huge physical discoveries, the Taj Mahal, Antelope Canyon. So if you choose intentional stillness, what concrete, non-mobile exploration of an idea, a memory, a skill, a relationship could offer you that same intense sense of discovery? What does your personal alignment look like right now?